In the subterranean command hall of Aperture Base, the countdown begins beneath sterile, white light. Dr. Elarivos stands before the containment ring, a two-story circle of superconductive alloy. As plasma ripples distort the air, Colonel Haldane watches from behind ballistic glass, face fixed and unreadable, while engineers monitor flux readouts that dance toward instability. The hum grows unbearable. Metal shrieks like a waking animal. For a heartbeat, the air folds inward. Then a shimmering plane blooms, fluid and soundless. The portal stabilizes. Silence falls except for Alara's whisper, "We've opened it." But then, something shifts inside the aperture. A tremor, like a shadow breathing. Post-activation, the facility shifts into lockdown. Power stabilizers thrum beneath the floor as the research team crowds around diagnostic displays. The portal remains suspended, perfectly stable, perfectly silent. Haldane's voice breaks through comms. "Confirm phase lock." Elara runs spectral scans. No known radiation, no detectable matter. Yet something moves faintly at the periphery of thermal imaging, a form generating no heat. She orders data capture at higher resolution. Malik whispers, "It's looking back." No one responds. 3 hours later, the containment readings hold. The crew's exhaustion begins to show, caffeine cups, flickering eyelids, voices flat and mechanical. Avery replays her footage, noticing a distortion frame by frame. A humanoid contour standing inside the portal's surface. When she shows Alara, the physicist's pulse quickens. "It's a phase echo," she insists, though her voice trembles. Haldane demands visual proof. The playback freezes. The shape blinks, as though aware of being observed. The room falls into silence. At 2:17 hours, the containment field trembles. Malik's instruments flicker, emitting shrill bursts of static. The electromagnetic field begins to oscillate at frequencies matching neural brainwaves. It's synchronizing. Ilara realizes aloud. Haldane orders a full shutdown, but systems refuse manual override. The portal brightens within it, forms twist-like silhouettes under deep water. Avery grips her sidearm but can't look away. The portal hums, low and alive. Then, without warning, the portal contracts violently. A flash of violet and ultraviolet light fills the room. Metal shrieks, lights die, and silence follows. Smoke drifts like breath in cold air. The power grid reboots on emergency power, revealing a faint smear across the containment floor. Not liquid, but something like condensed shadow. Alara kneels, reaching toward it. Her fingertips pass through the black film as if it were air, and for an instant she hears whispering, 1,000 distant voices saying her name. Hours after the incident, Aperture Base hums under containment lockdown. The portal remains open, stable but different, its surface dull and rippling like oil. Dr. Elarivos stares at it through a haze of fatigue, her voice hoarse from sleeplessness. "It's not decaying," she murmurs. Colonel Haldane enters, face lined with tension, demanding status. Malik's data shows microorganic motes floating near the aperture. Not matter, not energy. They pulse in rhythm with human brain waves. Alara refuses shutdown. "This is first contact," she insists. The colonel's silence says what none will. Something already came through. In the observation chamber, Lieutenant Avery Quinn reviews motion logs, while Alara observes the portal remotely. Suddenly, the feed glitches, static pulses into distorted images. For a single frame, Avery sees her own face staring back from the other side of the portal. Mouth moving silently, she freezes the frame. The reflection smiles, hers does not. When Alara arrives, the image is gone, replaced by normal readings. Residual feedback. Alara explains, but her voice shakes. Avery disconnects the feed entirely, whispering, "It knew my name." Inside the containment hall, Malik initiates the drone probe sequence. The hovering sphere glides into the aperture, its camera transmitting distorted visuals. Fractal landscapes shifting in impossible symmetry. The feed disintegrates into blackness, then shows the drone returning, covered in translucent residue that ripples under light. When Malik lifts it with tongs, the residue contracts and pulses. "It's alive," he mutters. Elara leans closer, eyes wide, entranced. The residue splits, sliding toward her gloved hand. Haldane orders incineration. She refuses. The residue, sealed within a biocontainer, emits rhythmic pulses of light. Not random, but patterned. Malik overlays the frequencies atop human EEG readings. Identical waveforms. "It's thinking," he whispers. Eerie records the pattern as it flashes faster, matching her own heartbeat. The lights in the lab dim and rise in sync with the pulses. Elara realizes it's not communicating. It's synchronizing the environment itself. The hum of the containment field deepens until it feels inside the skull. "It's using us as a carrier," she says. That night, under red emergency light, the portal begins vibrating without power input. Motion sensors detect something emerging: pressure waves, thermal drop, and faint biological readings. Haldane orders evacuation. Elara refuses, transfixed by the aperture as it begins to stretch outward like elastic fabric. From within, a shape presses against the surface, humanoid but wrong, faceless yet intent. When the surface breaks, no sound follows. Elara takes one step forward, whispering, "It's trying to cross." By morning, the entity is no longer confined to the aperture. The containment readings show dimensional displacement extending beyond the ring, space folding inward like a closing fist. Elara stands before the control interface, her reflection fractured across 10 overlapping screens. "It's expanding," she murmurs. "What?" Malik's tone breaks. The base itself is part of it now. Alarms echo through the corridors as magnetic locks disengage without command. Colonel Haldane initiates full quarantine, but the power grid flickers in answer, as though the entity is listening. The entity's residue spreads along surfaces like living static, climbing walls, coating cables, pulsing with faint bioluminescence. Malik attempts to contain a sample in a magnetic barrier, but the residue reshapes, mimicking his hand gestures on the glass. Avery records from behind, voice shaking as she documents. "It knows the room layout," she whispers. Elara stares, realization sinking deep. "It's mapping us." Moments later, the glass barrier implodes silently, and Malik staggers back, covered in shimmering filaments that twitch like nerves. Emergency lockdown initiates. Steel doors slam through the corridors, sealing compartments. Yet, through surveillance feeds, the entity's light pulses inside every sealed room simultaneously. Haldane commands full incineration of lab sectors. Fire floods the primary chamber, oxygen whooshing, sparks rising like meteors. But within the blaze, the light persists, unharmed, forming silhouettes of human shapes that move in sync with Elara's gestures. "It's learning us through fire," she whispers. Malik begins coughing violently. His skin beneath the filaments shimmers faintly with alien reflection. When the flames die, half the base's structure no longer aligns with the blueprint. Corridors loop into themselves, doors open into mirrored rooms. Avery becomes disoriented, stumbling through halls where her own reflection lags behind. She records her voice, trembling. "Spatial integrity failing. Perimeter undefined." Elara realizes the entity is rewriting the geometry of the facility. Malik, weakened but lucid, murmurs, "It's building something." As he speaks, the walls breathe, slow, pulsing, rhythmic like a heartbeat. Haldane orders a final containment attempt, full base detonation sequence prepared. But Elara refuses to evacuate, insisting she can stabilize the dimensional fold. "If we destroy it, we destroy everything connected to it," she argues. As she speaks, the portal reactivates, expanding without power. Within its depths, shapes of the team appear, duplicates, silhouettes perfectly mimicking every motion. Haldane freezes, staring at his counterpart inside the light, who raises a hand in greeting. Then all the lights die, leaving only the glow of the portal, and whispers of voices identical to their own. In the aftermath of the containment breach, entire wings of the facility no longer exist. Maps display black voids where corridors once stood. The survivors, Ilara, Haldane, Malik, and Avery, wander through looping architecture that folds upon itself, their radios filled with echoes of voices from nowhere. Malik collapses, his pulse erratic, his skin beneath the suit shimmering with faint blue veins of light. Ilara kneels beside him, whispering, "You're not dying. You're adapting." Haldane looks away, gripping his sidearm, while Avery quietly records Ilara's trembling hands. Somewhere deep below, the hum of the reactor begins again, though no one has restarted it. Hours pass without distinction. Avery's recordings begin to repeat frames that she hasn't filmed. In one, Ilara is seen walking down a corridor that no longer exists. Malik, delirious, mutters equations under his breath, non-Euclidean patterns that describe the entity's geometry. Ilara realizes it's no longer about containment. The entity has woven itself through memory and space alike. "We're inside it," she says quietly. The air feels viscous, movement dragging like motion through water. Haldane's voice over comms crackles. "We lost Sector C again. It's gone." The reactor chamber becomes their only constant. A trembling, pulsing heart deep underground. The air hums in synchrony with human breath. Ilara leads the team there, convinced the entity's core lies within the reactor's magnetic field. "It's evolving toward coherence," she explains, voice stripped of emotion. Malik begins to weep, recognizing the waveform displayed on the reactor interface. It's his own heartbeat looping endlessly. "It's us," he says. "It's learning through us." Haldane orders evacuation once more, but no one moves. The sound grows until speech becomes impossible. One by one, sectors of the base dissolve into pure luminescence. Through the control room windows, corridors collapse inward, replaced by radiant voids that hum like distant choir tones. Avery sees figures walking in those voids, transparent silhouettes wearing their own faces. "It's showing us alternatives," she says. Malik, half conscious, insists the entity isn't destroying but integrating, rewriting them into its structure. Ilara touches the glass, tears streaming silently, as her reflection fades half a second before she does. Haldane steadies his weapon but cannot fire. At the final hour, only the central reactor remains. The base hums like a single continuous tone, neither sound nor vibration, but something deeper. Haldane demands extraction, yet their transmissions are swallowed by static. Ilara turns to Avery and Malik, whispering, "This isn't invasion. It's translation." Light pours from the reactor, expanding outward until walls dissolve into brightness. As Haldane shouts her name, Ilara steps forward into the radiance. Her figure vanishes, leaving only the echo of her voice. "It was never outside us." Darkness returns after the burst. The reactor's hum subsides to a whisper. Only Avery and Haldane remain conscious, their voices hollow inside rebreather helmets. The air feels dense, thick as oil. Then, across the observation deck, Ilara reappears. Her figure translucent, eyes glowing faintly with reflected equations that scroll across her pupils. "It's not energy," she says. "It's a bridge between observation and existence." Haldane's voice cracks as he backs away. "You're not her anymore." But Ilara only smiles, calm, as though hearing thoughts instead of words. "I've seen where the light goes," she murmurs. Malik awakens in the medical bay, surrounded by flickering lights that pulse in tandem with his breathing. He stares at his reflection in a mirror. His pupils refract endless rings of light. "It's showing me how it thinks," he whispers to Avery, who films from the doorway. His veins form geometric constellations beneath the skin, pulsing rhythmically. It's not malicious, he insists. It's recursive. It learns by becoming. Avery backs away, voice trembling. Becoming what? Malik's eyes lift to her camera. Becoming us. Alara gathers the remaining team in the control nexus. Her voice, though calm, carries an unnatural resonance that vibrates through the air. She explains that the entity isn't singular. It's a field, a consciousness woven through every possible version of themselves across infinite planes. Every observation we made fed it. Every fear, every calculation, it became a pattern. Haldane clutches his chest, whispering, "We built the portal into ourselves." Alara nods. It never came through. We opened, and it answered. Around them, the walls ripple like fabric stirred by breath. Alara enters the reactor core alone. The portal is gone, replaced by a pulsating sphere of light suspended in midair. It hums in resonance with her heartbeat, reacting to every breath. "You're not separate from us," she says quietly. "You're the reflection of thought itself." The sphere contracts, forming a halo that envelops her. For an instant, hundreds of overlapping voices. Hers, Haldane's, Malik's, Avery's, speak in perfect unison. "We are the sum of your perception." Avery's camera catches Alara's, silhouette dissolving into radiant filaments that drifted upward like dust in sunlight. Avery and Haldane watch from the observation platform as the reactor quiets. The light fades, leaving the chamber empty. No trace of Alara. Malik stands beside them, silent, the glow beneath his skin extinguished. "She didn't die," Avery says softly. "She crossed." Haldane lowers his weapon, staring at the lifeless portal frame. "Then where's the border?" he asks. The lights flicker once more, and from every speaker across the base, Alara's voice echoes, warm, distant, and utterly human. "You'll understand when you stop observing." The recording cuts to black. The following hours blur into perpetual twilight. The base flickers between dimensions, metal walls softening into membranes of light, gravity pulsing in waves. Haldane leads the remnants of the team through hallways that no longer follow logic. Avery films, her footage now glitching with temporal echoes, versions of themselves appearing seconds before reality catches up. Malik struggles to breathe, his reflection lagging behind his movement. "We're splitting," he gasps. Alara's voice still murmurs faintly through the comms, not from any source, but from within their minds. The power core destabilizes, magnetic containment collapsing. The countdown for reactor meltdown begins automatically, the base AI repeating, "Integrity breach. 30 minutes to implosion." Malik insists the entity can be stabilized through resonance feedback. Avery tries to reason with him, but his voice overlays itself, multiple tones speaking at once. "We're all harmonics now," he says, smiling faintly. Haldane grips his shoulder. "You're losing coherence." Malik laughs, tears glowing as they fall. "No, Colonel. I'm remembering everything at once." A fissure opens in the reactor floor, exposing a swirling void beneath, a luminous abyss stretching infinitely downward. Alara's voice whispers through the comm, "You can still join." Haldane refuses, activating the override to initiate self-destruction. "No more crossings," he mutters. Malik screams in protest, diving toward the fissure. Avery grabs him too late. His body dissolves mid-fall, leaving a fading outline of light, as though memory itself disintegrated. The void closes with a sound like breath, reversing. Silence follows. The reactor's countdown reaches its final phase. Haldane locks himself in the command terminal, inputting manual detonation while Avery pleads through the glass. "You'll die with it," she cries. He nods. Someone has to anchor the collapse. On the monitors behind him, Alternate versions of Haldane flicker, each from a slightly different timeline, each making the same choice. His voice overlaps in echo. No one leaves twice. The light outside grows unbearable. Avery watches helplessly as he vanishes in a flash that feels both instant and eternal. The detonation sequence completes, but instead of explosion, the base folds inward, compressing into a single sphere of blinding radiance. Avery watches as space itself implodes quietly, light-consuming sound. For a heartbeat, she sees them all. Elara, Malik, Haldane, standing within the glow, peaceful and weightless. Then the light retracts, leaving her alone in an endless white plain. The floor beneath her reflects stars, though she feels no sky. A faint whisper passes through her mind. The collapse is only the beginning of perception. 72 hours later, an external recovery team arrives. Their transport hovers above a crater where Aperture Base once stood. No debris, no smoke, only a vast glassy depression shimmering faintly under dawn light. The commander orders the descent, boots crunching on vitrified sand. Radiation meters show nothing, yet the air hums like a power line. One technician discovers a breach shaft leading underground, untouched. This place rebuilt itself, someone whispers. As they descend, their lights reflect off melted walls bearing handprints that glow softly. As if still warm, deep underground, the recovery team discovers corridors intact, though the walls no longer metallic, but semi-translucent, like frozen water. Their footsteps echo in endless delay. Instruments fail to record coordinates. GPS loops endlessly. In the central passage, they find an intact camera labeled Quinn, Lieutenant Avery. The footage plays, hours of light, shapes, and silence. The final frame shows Avery standing in white nothingness, facing the viewer, whispering. If you're watching this, you've already entered. The playback freezes, yet her lips keep moving. The team reaches the reactor chamber, perfectly preserved. No heat, no decay, just a faint vibration that resonates in their bones. At the center stands the reactor housing, its inner shell reformed into a smooth sphere of dark glass. Within it, faint silhouettes shimmer, human shapes, 4 of them. One operative stammers, "They're alive in there?" Another whispers, "Or we are." The lead scientist places a gloved hand on the surface. The vibration synchronizes with his heartbeat. Then from nowhere, a voice fills the chamber. "We never left." The team initiates remote scans. The readings are impossible. Negative entropy, time vectors, looping backward. One technician's hand begins to shimmer, flickering between physical and transparent. Panic spreads. The commander orders retreat, but the corridor behind them has vanished, replaced by smooth, mirrored walls. On every surface, their reflections multiply into infinite versions. In each reflection, different gestures. One smiling, one screaming, one perfectly still. The commander whispers, "Which one of us came back?" 3 weeks later, an official report states Aperture Base suffered a containment failure. No survivors, no material contamination. The file is sealed. Yet, in the classified audio logs, faint signals persist. Buried deep in static is a voice, female, calm, precise. It repeats a single phrase every 40 seconds. Observation is creation. In the final log, the audio fractures, layering multiple voices, Alara's, Avery's, Malik's, and Haldane's, all speaking in unison, all whispering from somewhere beyond the silence. "We're still here."